This next panel is going to talk about educational initiatives. Again, we're looking at all different kinds of sectors. We started with sports, now we're going to talk about education, and I suspect you're going to hear a great deal about a beautiful film that Patrice O'Neill made called Repairing the World. It is a film about the Pittsburgh killings, but more importantly about the response of this community to what happened here. It is beginning broadcast on PBS stations throughout the nation on October 25th and 26th, so wherever you live, find it. If you live in Pittsburgh, it is broadcasting at 6 p.m. on October 26th. So please, please take some time and watch it. And with that, I am going to turn over the panel to Bob Scherrer.
Thank you, Laura. So I'm Bob Scherrer, the Executive Director of the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. We're one of 29 intermediate units in the state of Pennsylvania. We sort of sit between the Pennsylvania Department of Education and the 500 school districts that are here in the Commonwealth. And our particular intermediate unit services the 42 school districts that surround the city of Pittsburgh. And prior to my current role, I served as a superintendent, an assistant superintendent, a principal, and a teacher. And so last year I was asked to join the Community Advisory Board for the Summit to provide the perspective of the K-12 education system. And what I did is I took that opportunity to then invite a number of educators from across the region to attend and provide their feedback in terms of what we might want to do for future summits. And during our debrief, one of the things that came up is, well, we're missing the kids. Where are the students? And so we realized that eradicating hate begins with young people. So as we started to discuss this and consider what that might look like, we learned about one of the high schools in the region who watched Repairing the World, Stories from the Tree of Life, which is an amazing film that really sort of documents Pittsburgh's response to just a horrific incident. And as those students watched that film, it spoke to them, and it really pushed their thinking and created action on their part. So they created their own Eradicate Hate Club, and they started to host a variety of activities throughout the school year. And so as we learned more about that, we thought, well, how can we take that and scale it? How can we provide that opportunity for others here in the region? And so what we have here tomorrow, we're very excited, is we have the first ever Eradicate Hate Student Summit. And so what you're going to see in just a moment is a video that we shared with our schools here in the region, encouraging them to attend. So I'll let the video explain a little bit more about what this is tomorrow.
Across Pittsburgh and southwestern Pennsylvania, people are standing up. They are standing up against intolerance, prejudice, and bigotry. People are standing up against hate. On September 27th through the 29th, Pittsburgh will host the Eradicate Hate Global Summit, the world's most comprehensive anti-hate conference. This year, we are organizing a special activity during the second day of the summit, focusing on high school students in Allegheny County, because we know how important it is to engage young people in this work. Students and their chaperones will view the documentary Repairing the World, Stories from the Tree of Life. They will then hear from a few schools in the region regarding the work they are doing to combat hate in their own communities. Participants will then engage in a design sprint regarding what they might do back in their own schools to combat hate, and then share those ideas with other schools who are in attendance. Schools can send up to 10 students and 2 adults for the event, which will occur on Thursday, September 28th at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. The session will begin at 9:30 a.m. and end at 1:30 p.m., and lunch will be provided. There is no cost to attend, but schools will need to provide transportation. Registration information will be shared via email, and the event will be capped at 200 participants. We would love to see students and schools from across the county participate in this event and show the power and resolve of young people when it comes to combating hate. Because together, we can eradicate hate.
So I'm very happy and excited that we have 14 high schools that will be joining us here tomorrow. A huge thank you to the summit organizers for giving us some space here in the convention center. So not only will the students, be a part of this activity, but they're going to see all of you. They're going to see that, there are 1,000 people from across the globe coming together to eradicate hate. So thank you for giving us a few minutes to share this tomorrow, and look forward to in the breakout session on Friday sharing sort of what we see tomorrow and how it plays out. So thank you.
And I guess I'm up. So I'm Ken Stern. I'm the director of the Bard Center for the Study of Hate. I'm co-chair of the working group on hate studies in higher education. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I'm so delighted that my co-chair, Christine Hoover, is with you, and I encourage you to all have conversations with her because she's amazing. So the core of the working group, actually, people that have come together to promote and to build hate studies, some for the last couple of decades. And hate studies comes from the observation, there's a lot of good work in the academy about hate, but it's very frequently too siloed. Somebody's looking at brain science, somebody's looking at social psychology, somebody's looking at culture, somebody's looking at politics. But as we've heard this morning, all these different aspects of hate actually operate together. And there's not a sufficiently robust set of theories from this connection of different fields to provide guidance for what works and what doesn't work for NGOs. And I worked at the American Jewish Committee for 25 years. Other groups too. We need better thinking about what works, what doesn't, and why. And the academy is a key part of that. So hate studies is defined as inquiries into the human capacity to define and then dehumanize or demonize an other, and the processes which inform and give expression to or can curtail, control, or combat that capacity. And that's all what everybody here at this conference is thinking about, and that's what we're hoping to make us all smarter about. So the first Hate Studies Center started at Gonzaga in the 90s, and fortunately there are many more now. And Christine had a great idea a few years ago. Why don't we pull these groups together and have conversations, sort of make it a consortium to share and support and figure out what the gaps were. And I encourage you to go to the breakout session, which you'll be chairing, because you'll hear of all the amazing work that different centers are doing. And you'll hear about different aspects of it. Some are focused more on teaching. Some of the initiatives are focused more on research. Some focus a lot on students, some on faculty, and different levels of engagement with policymakers, with governments, NGOs, philanthropists, and so forth, all for the goal of making us smarter about what do we do about hate, what works, what doesn't, and why. The goal of bringing this under the summit, though, is to really put this effort on steroids, to grow it, to grow the field, and to bring in many new stakeholders. So over time, what we want to do is collectively help other academic institutions build up hate studies or some aspect of it, either full centers or programs or parts of it. And we hope at some point that at a future summit, we can have a half day of people who want to sit down and do a workshop to learn about how hate studies programs work around the country and around the world. In the meantime, the working group that we're convening is not just going to be focused on this summit and the next summit, but actually we plan to hold a few virtual meetings over the year to build up the capacity of what we're doing. And I invite you to participate with us. And we see the expansion beyond the various centers. It's not only a means to promote hate studies in higher education, but as others were saying this morning, as a vehicle to connect people who might be helpful in their day-to-day work. Laura suggested a few people to put on the working group that neither Christina and I knew. We knew basically everybody else. And I've had conversations with 3 of the 4. Not all of them are involved in academic pursuits, but it struck me about how useful those conversations were, because I knew about research in places that might be useful to them, and they had ideas that I hadn't thought about. So it'll be, what I see as a dynamic group to help people on their day-to-day work with those connections. I encourage you to come to the breakout session, to hear what's happening, to think through about how we can build the study of hate together and what's happening in the hate-related projects. I will give you my email because I'm not there, and I'm eager to help anybody who would like to reach out and connect with me. Of course, Christine is there. My email is kstern, K-S-T-E-R-N, @bard.edu. And one of the things that I think will be useful for me in this working group, and one of the projects we're doing at BARD in cooperation with the BU Business School, is to think of the sort of some of the things that people were talking about earlier this morning, about how to flip the tool of social media to be more effective against hatred. And one of the ideas is to build a clearinghouse, which we have a plan for, that would help victims of hate crimes to know what to do, to know to ask questions that they don't already know the answer to, and to connect them with a lot of the groups that are in attendance at this conference today. So if there are people that are interested in that, please email me, because I could use picking your brains. But I look forward to this next year of an active working group, and maybe by the time we get there next year, there'll be more places with hate studies and more utility of the great wisdom in the academy to make it more practical for people that are doing the work on the ground. And thank you very much, and I'll see you next year.
I'm Patrice O'Neill. I'm a filmmaker and lead an organization called Not in Our Town. Laura, you asked us, how did the Eradicate Hate Summit influence our work? I think you're seeing it in action. What happened with the schools is just so tremendous, and you'll hear from Bill and Deb in a minute. As we were making Repairing the World, Not in Our Town works with local communities to find ways to stand up to hate. And as we're making Repairing the World, we are learning so much from Pittsburgh about the multiple ways we stand up to hate. And just one example is the way they're trying to address hate speech, and we're trying to address it at the community level before the attack at Tree of Life happened. There are multiple layers. You'll see it when you see the film. But we knew that working with these groups, particularly during the pandemic, Pardeep Kalika and I are convening all these cities from across the country, and they're saying, we need structure. We need a way to address these issues over time, and structure is a challenge. So we sort of took what we learned from these many communities and what we were learning on the ground in Pittsburgh, and developed a concept paper for hate and bias action teams, which is a group of stakeholders that could work at multiple levels to both improve reporting, response, and prevention to hate. And so we were able to meet with them. Daphne Felton Green from our team and Party, we did a convening in Hazelwood here in Pittsburgh a few months ago, and our second formation committee happened because the summit helped us convene this working group. There were a few dozen people there, leaders of diverse communities in Pittsburgh. And the charge is this: one, can we improve reporting so that we can get a better picture of what's happening here in Pittsburgh and what the problem of hate is? Two, can we build public awareness and a force so that we can really respond to, no matter who the target is, of hate in our community? And three, can we build those long-term connections across our identities and across difference that will help us be resilient to hate? And we are learning so much from this group so far. It's really exciting to see what will happen next. And you'll hear from Deb and Bill in a minute. I just so appreciate the love in this community. We don't say that word enough. There is so much love here.
Thanks, Patrice. Good morning. Hi, I'm Debbie Kaplan. I'm an executive in residence at the Forbes Funds, and I am co-chair of the working group Community Education Through Film. And the call to action for our working group came after last year's summit. And we are fortunate to have, along with Patrice, a group of local leaders, including Mark Nordenberg, Rabbi Ron Simons, Maggie Feinstein, Reverend Tim Smith, Jason Kunzman, and others, whose expertise and work in the community are greatly informing our vision. And our vision is to hold community-facilitated discussions throughout our region, utilizing Patrice O'Neill's film, Repairing the World. And it's such an impactful film. It's going to serve as the centerpiece for discussion to educate and inform our community about combating and preventing hate. And I'll turn this over to my co-chair, Bill Eisler.
Hi, I'm Bill Eisler. I'm President and CEO Emeritus of Fred Rogers Productions here in Pittsburgh. And when we started our work after the summit last year, we were able to attend a meeting that students organized in South Allegheny School District. And we realized how important students and schools were to our work. So this year, we're going to be following in Bob Scherer's footsteps in working with our community facilitated groups within the school districts that the students will be here tomorrow. So we're going to work within communities, with the schools, with community leaders, with everybody who is involved, who wants to be involved with us. We will have trained facilitators and we will have resource people. And we see it as at the beginning of work within the community, not the end. That the work will continue as the years to come. But we're definitely informed by the work of the summit. And if anybody here is interested in learning more or wants additional information or would like to work with us, Deb and I will be here throughout the conference. But I can't say enough about the work that the students have been doing. And we want to work with those school districts to further, as Patrice asked, the 3 things. We want to be able to do those and implement them in an organized, facilitated way.